Hello, my friend, and welcome to Secure and Insecure, hosted by me, Johnny Seifert. This is the celebrity mental health podcast where I say it's okay to not be okay. And if you have the same mantra as me, whether you're watching or listening, leave a 5-star rating, click that review button, and click the subscribe button. It's so important. We keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. And let me tell you about my guest today. My guest today started the year on a high, and so far, as we get into the final third of 2024, she is the Queen of the Year. With a glass of pink fizz in her hand, she went from being a traitor star to a national treasure overnight. And as a contestant on the upcoming series of Celebrity MasterChef, she's on a journey that has just started a brand new chapter in her life. So with thanks to Causeway for setting up this interview, I'm delighted to welcome to Skinny. It's Diane Carson. Hello, Diane.
Hello, hiya, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, I'm fine, yeah. Bit of a chaotic day yesterday down to London, but back up this morning, couldn't find my way to the train station. I have no sense of direction, can't use map on my phone, running in the heat this morning with my suitcase, but managed to get the train. Thank God for that.
I mean, one would think, Diane, you should be on the trains and we should be getting chauffeur-driven cars on helicopters everywhere. What are you doing on public transport?
Well, yeah. Well, no, that's fine. It's just my sense of direction's pretty appalling. That's the only thing. So, yeah. Anyway, managed to get there. I'm quite proud of myself, to be fair.
Well, you should be proud of yourself because it's been such a big year for you. And it's been a really weird time because, as you go into, not mentioning your age, but into that next chapter of your life, and then suddenly fame comes to you and everyone wants a bit of Diane now. How have you managed to kind of go from where you were in December last year? Yes, you'd filmed The Traitors, to it coming out on screen in January, and then how the rest of this year has planned out since?
Well, obviously, totally unexpected, and it's been very surreal. So I think that's helped in that I don't get fixated with it. I love chatting to people. So when I meet people who have recognized me or want to photograph or want to chat, that's great. I have no worries at all. Unless somebody come this morning while I was running for the train, that would have not been so good because I got on it by the skin of my teeth. But generally speaking, Ross and I just went on it for a laugh. Everything else has been, it's a bit mental, but it's been a lot of fun. And as you say, you get this opportunity or opportunities come to you maybe once in a lifetime. And I reckon you go and get them, when you take them. And we're going with this ride and loving it. It's been great fun.
With your way of learning about the industry, I suppose that when we look at shows like Love Island and Big Brother, and people who go on those shows want to be famous, they want to have those social media followers, they want to have the brand deals. When you come in from a later point of life, do you find it easier to navigate yourself through the industry because you're not craving those numbers, you're not craving the fame? It just so happens to be a byproduct of it.
I think there has to be said that there was a naivety on my part and possibly Ross's because we don't particularly do reality shows. And my son-in-law was the one that said, actually, you better be prepared. You've possibly opened up something that you won't expect. And I just didn't get it at all. I didn't even think about being recognized or anything like that. And I most certainly didn't expect what goes on. For example, if you've seen when I introduced Bewitched at Mighty Hoopla, the crowd went mad for me. I'm just like, what? So I think if anybody goes into a show like this or a game show with the expectation of, I don't know, becoming rich, famous, I think you're in a hiding to nothing, actually. I think there's more disappointment involved, I think, with that attitude. I didn't even think about it. It didn't cross my mind. But again, as I said, there was a bit of naivety. Yes, my age probably helps me navigate everything like this because, I've got a really good established life with my family, who I love, my grandchildren, all my activities. And so this is just an extra bonus for me. And it's also provided an amazing platform to, for example, raise money for Alzheimer's, work now with Causeway. These are amazing opportunities for myself and Ross. And we're very blessed to be able to do that. I think if I was younger and had just gone on for, I don't know, to be spotted everywhere, I think that would be very difficult if that's what I wanted from this, or if anybody wants that from this sort of experience. I think, for example, Traitors was just, for me, more about, wow, could I do that? Could I work with the mind-bending games that are involved, working alongside other human beings, because I love people watching, as you probably saw from the show. I love watching, being a teacher, a youth worker in the Troubles, the edge of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, working with disadvantaged children and working with children that have been kicked out of school. you needed to be observing these children on how they were going to be able to access education. And so therefore that has always fascinated me. So that's why I went on Traitors. Anything else is just, it's a bit mental. I do think you're right, though. I do think age has probably helped me as well navigate through it all too. I hadn't even thought about that, because I don't think, I'm not ageist in any way, because somebody once said to me, did you go on it because you're in your 60s and this was a last ditch attempt to do something exciting with your life? My age doesn't come into anything. Oh yeah, I'd like to look younger and less wrinkly, but do you know what I mean? It's not a thing. For me, age is not a thing. You do what you can, basically, whatever age you are.
I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's a chapter thing. I like to look at it as chapters. And when we look
Yeah,
at your career, teacher, youth worker, reality star, now what you're doing as an ambassador with Causeway, and as you said, the other charities as well. I think it's that sense for you is you're such a giver, and not just a giver of your time, but giver of knowledge. And because you're such a people person, you pick up all this knowledge about everyone else. And when you're people watching, you're really looking at their body language and how they're interacting with each other. And you're passing it on. You're one of those people, as far as I can tell, and that's why I think you've become what we would call a national treasure, because you're passing it on, whether it's the knowledge or the happiness or the sense of, look, we can all be part of a community. It doesn't matter if you're gay,
yeah,
straight, doesn't matter if you're black
yeah.
or white, just all come together. And I think this has been one of those years, with all the culturals going on, but there's that little glimpses of happiness in 2024. And I think you were one of those people that defined that and helped everyone out like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely think that I know for me, and I've known this for a long time, if I go into a room, I can lift atmospheres. I know that, but equally, I can bring it down. So, being that sort of a personality, you need to be very aware of that when you're with people, because we all need lifts. Life's not been easy during COVID and everything else that's going on, and I definitely use humor to navigate my way through life. And I always have done, because I think you take every opportunity to laugh, not cruelly, by the way, never at anybody else's expense, but you use humor to get through things. And if I can share that with people, that would be absolutely amazing, because sometimes it's just difficult to laugh and to get on with things. But sometimes that's what you need to do, be able to sort of look at yourself and actually not make fun of yourself, but you know what I mean? Don't always take yourself too seriously. You can't afford to do that in life.
Well, and I hope this is okay to talk about, but when your father was ill, you probably needed those little glimpses of happiness and the lighter side, because it was such a dark time for you that
Yeah,
if you had carried on in that dark mindset, it could have really spiraled for you as well as him. And yet you needed that
yeah,
little bit of laughter just
yeah,
so
yeah.
we are okay. Well, I am grounded still.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's the one thing, I was actually speaking to somebody about this yesterday. We were so blessed with Dad, who passed with Alzheimer's, because he actually retained the essence of who he was. And he still loved to laugh. And I remember Mum and my sister decided he needed to get a new, those plates that you used to leave in water many, many years ago, way before your time, with 3 or 4 teeth on them. And they reckoned that they'd needed to be replaced. I mean, this is a man in his sort of early 80s who's got dementia, but they thought he would look better. So they'd spent this money, got his teeth. I was in Ireland. My hubby had to go with him to the loo to make sure everything was okay. We were in a shopping centre. Dad comes out, note, missing 3 or 4 teeth. And my mum goes, oh my God, Stanley, where are your teeth? And he went, he just shrugged. He didn't sure what she was talking about. So I said to my hubby, you're going to have to go check the loo, fish those out. And he's like, well, I'm not doing that. And I said, well, then I'm going to have to go into the men's toilets and fish these out if we can. And one last ditch attempt, I said, Dad, have you got those teeth? And he produced them. They're in his pocket. And I said, Dad, do you need to put those in? And he went, no. He didn't want to put them in, basically. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take a photograph of what you look like without your teeth. So I took this photograph, which I could show you. I took this photograph. And of course, he's missing like 4 teeth, and he's done a big smile for me because he doesn't quite understand what's going on. I showed him this photograph, thinking he'd be shocked. He creased himself laughing. He doubled over. We were all laughing, even my mum, my sister. And we got over that, that whole instance. And they never tried to get him to put his teeth in again, and they cost a fortune these days. And another time we'd taken him, been sick, and he'd been in hospital. I mean, he didn't last much longer after this, but we decided we'd all go out for afternoon tea. Because the other thing, I think, just because somebody's got dementia, you shouldn't be hiding away inside. Oh, I know it's difficult, but equally they're entitled to still enjoy life. And they used to love going to afternoon tea. We're in Belfast, you know, a decent, good hotel. And we'd already been fooling around. We'd seen a luggage trolley. And when used to go on holidays with, when Ross was away, and his stepsister, we would all get in the luggage trolley, don't ask. And my hubby would sort of like take us along with the luggage, and we'd all be singing and getting on, just having a laugh before the holiday. And I said to my sister, come on, we'll put Dad in the luggage trolley. And she went, what? And I said, no, I'll get in with him, be fine. And I got in with my dad, and my sister's going, what are you doing? And my dad started singing again. He hadn't been singing. He was singing naughty songs, by the way. But anyway, that's regardless of all that. He had started singing. We hadn't seen that for a while. And it just broke the ice for us because we weren't sure how he was going to behave. You know, it was never going to be bad, but it could have been embarrassing. Anyway, we're all happy. We get to the door. It's, you know, rotating door. Dad gets in. Can't remember how to use this. But he went round about 8 times before we could get him out. And the whole thing was we were going to discreetly come into this restaurant, you know. He fell out of, I don't mean fell as in, you know, fell and hurt himself or anything, but oh my God, everybody in the restaurant was looking at us, and we just thought, you know what, this is fine, this is okay. And we had the best afternoon tea with him, you know. And that's what you have to still laugh and enjoy life, because we were never going to, the horrendous diagnosis was, your dad's got Alzheimer's. That's the pain, that's the heartache. We'd done all our crying. Now we've got to make the best of what we have. And I think that's the same with everybody. And I'm not saying it's easy, because there are a lot of situations that are not easy to laugh about. But if you can find something to hold on to and sort of rejoice with, if you know what I mean, if you can.
Absolutely. And if anyone's affected by Alzheimer's and wants more information, alzheimers.org.uk is the website to go and get more information on. You're very into the spiritual world. And so when he passed, what was that lesson that kind of got given to you via the spirits for you to carry on the next chapter?
Well, I was a very blessed young woman to have my dad. And as somebody said to me, you know, there's no love without pain. So that pain was always going to happen. But I am the luckiest girl in the world to have had my dad as my dad. And that's what I take through. You know, so when Dad was dying and we knew he was passing, I ended up taking the service for Dad because I needed to. That's just something I needed to do. I was looking at videos and photos and crying and laughing and just thinking, oh my God, I was the luckiest girl in the world. And I still miss him every second of the day, but I still go with that. Whereas my sister couldn't look at anything, and we actually fell out during the grieving process because we don't grieve the same way. We're fine now. We're fine because I wouldn't let that come between us. But for me, I just kept saying, thank you, God. I have this amazing, wonderful man in my life. And my dad, I'll tell you what, my dad would have been watching the Traitors every night, and he'd have been sitting there with the biggest smile on his face. Even when I used to put on productions with my kids that were, you know, struggling one way or another, I would put on productions. That was my thing, to get them on stage, develop confidence, everything. And I remember when my 20s, my dad was sitting in the audience with my mum, and I could see my daddy, quite round face, big head and bald, and he was sitting up with the biggest smile in the world because his daughter, who was an adult by the way, was up on stage. All I did was chat, you know, introduce the group. That's all I did. He'd have been watching Traitors, he'd have been laughing, he'd have been, you know, there supporting us. In fact, he may very well have applied to get on to, you know, if he was of a reasonable age. I think probably my dad taught me my optimism and positivity about life, actually. I think it's from him. He was a great party man, and just, you know, he never let anything get him down. And so all those lessons, I'm, as I said, going through life, next chapter, but I'll never forget him. And I have all those amazing memories with him. Yeah.
So beautiful, Dan. So beautiful. You're practicing tarot reading now. And with tarot reading, you're kind of looking to that future. So we've kind of spoken about you being present, and you know, as you said, there's no love without pain, and it's all about laughter and fun. There's little glimpses of happiness. So what interests you about learning about the future rather than just staying in the present for now?
I got interested in it when my mum used to collect magazine horoscopes. So from a tiny little girl, I've always been sort of immersed in this world. Dad wasn't particularly interested in it. I don't know whether he believed in it, but he wasn't. It was of no interest to him. I just think that you can get a lot of comfort from, particularly if you have found, say, for example, a medium that can actually contact somebody that has passed. So I booked somebody I've set up a spiritual group in our town, and I was booking a medium over the phone, and I don't know her. She didn't know me. And I booked her. I negotiated a good price, booked her everything. She didn't have to do anything. She said, Diane, I've got somebody in spirit for you here. And I went, oh. And mum had passed away about 4 or 5 months ago, but I was a daddy's girl. My mum was probably closer to my sister. And she mentioned a couple of things which could only be my mum. So I'll just give you one. I'll give you a couple of examples. So one thing was, when we went to the house and looked through stuff and what we were taking, what we weren't taking, and there was a little brass bell that's at mum and dad's desk. I don't even like it, by the way. And it's like an Egyptian sort of, you know, that it was, her hair was sort of like that, you know, sort of these Egyptian type images.
The Cleopatra kind of black hair.
Yes. And I had lifted it and there was no little dingy thing. And I said to my sister, oh, what's happened to the bell? She said, I don't know. I said, but do you mind if I take this? Because it just reminds me of the house, because it had been there all my life. So I had it sitting on the table beside me where I had this phone call with this lady. Now, I've got a jar that, you know, it's full of rubbish. It's called sort of the home for things that are lost and don't have an official home. And I had a little cracker bell that size, honestly, and I'd sort of put a wee bit of wire on it and got it hooked up, so it made some sort of a noise. And this lady said to me, she said, I've got a bell and it's like a fairy bell, it's so tiny. And I was like, oh. And normally I would be quiet, but this time I went, that's my mum. And then she said, I have got chalk around me. Did your mum or somebody in your family suffer with an acidic stomach? My mum's acidic stomach completely ruled our lives. Every time she ate, she got acid. So we only ever ate breakfast, lunch, tea, and supper. I didn't even know if somebody came to the house, she offered them a biscuit, because we didn't eat in between meals. And I was like, oh my God. And then my elderly neighbor had become very ill, and I was trying to get him into hospital. And I was sort of sole care, I suppose. And she said, your mum knows there's something with somebody close by is not very well. And I went, oh, yes, well, that's my neighbor. And I'm going in. She said, well, your mum just wants you to know she knows what you're about. Not your mum adores you, because mum was not an emotional lady. Nothing like that, because sometimes they will say that. Nothing like that. Your mum just wants you to know she's with you and she knows what you're doing. And I was like, oh my God. And I said to my sister, I rang my sister immediately, and she said, oh, how did you feel? How did you feel? I said, I feel amazing. I feel phenomenal. And when I go to Mind, Body and Spirit Fairs, we used to have one locally it used to come twice a year to Lytham St Anne. Sadly, it's closed down. And I don't necessarily always want a reading. You know, they sell crystals, they look at your general health as well. They do massages. There's lots of things going on at these fairs. And I'd walk around and see if I could find somebody that might want to read or not. And I'm not joking you, the amount of people you could see hugging readers or saying thank you. And I just think it brings comfort, you know. And I also just think I'm amazed by the fact that, for example, I'm a Leo. Well, I'm a typical Leo, for example. The things that make a Leo, it's me. And I'm not saying that I believe in every single person that gives you a horoscope or tells you about your birth sign, but there's so much that's so interesting and so unbelievable. And also, I'll tell you a wee story too. Tracy on the Traitors is a medium and a clairvoyant and uses cards. By coincidence, she had bought her tarot with her. By coincidence, I had bought its Oracle pack, and there's 36 cards in it. It's Lenormand, and I've never got to terms to grips with this and I'd love to use these cards. Anyway, we went down to breakfast, not showing on TV. And she said to me, I have pulled out the Tower card. Now, the Tower card, this is my Northern Irish accent, Tower, Tower. Your life is taken from underneath your feet. You have no control over it. She was murdered the next day. I, in the Lenormand pack, picked out the coffin 2 days before I was in a coffin. There you go.
Just
yeah.
So what are you going to do with that knowledge? You've obviously got a superpower inside you. What are you going to do? Because we've spoken about you paying it forward with your education and your knowledge side. What are you going to do with these tarot? Because you've got so much spirits in your head that you could easily pay that forward as well.
I have done readings, but I looked at an instruction book, and people, my friends, just for friends, and we're all just sitting there going, oh my God. So if I become proficient and don't need an instruction book and can work on my instinct, I would use it really for friends, you know, people who know me. And to be very honest, there is definitely a measure of knowing your friend or your loved one as well that helps you interpret that card. And if I could bring comfort with it, that would be utterly amazing. But I just think for me at this minute in time, I want to get to understand it, because there are tools out there that help people and give them comfort. And part of me is still amazed that it actually works, but it does. You know, I mean, that medium, for example, ringing her up and she's no idea who I am. That's incredible. And I think it's about just discovering more of this. I mean, Tracy and I really only ever talked about spiritual stuff. We never really talked about who we thought was a traitor. We were too busy finding out about each other's interests and loves and, you know, knowledge. It was brilliant.
Let's talk quickly about Celeb MasterChef, because it's not out on TV yet, so we can't say too much. But how did you feel getting that call to say, hey, Diane, you've done the one reality show, we're now going to put you on another, but it's going to be a celebrity version of a show. You've stepped up a gear now.
Having not had a kitchen, because the whole house has just had building work doing, I used to be a big entertainer. We would, and quite easily, having parties of 50 to 60 people, and I would do the catering. But as I said on another interview a while back, I'm not averse to throwing in a jar of dolmio if I'm making 4 or 5 lasagnas, you know, for a number of people. But for me, we hadn't had a proper kitchen for over a year, and I had not entertained for probably a couple of years, and there was COVID as well. So it was a bit, oh my God, really? And then my kids thought this would be fun, because some of them, you know, watch Celebrity MasterChef, and actually 3 of them are amazing cooks. And we do just love eating good food. And I went, oh, I don't know, this is very much out of my comfort zone doing it. No, you'd be great, be fine, it'll be not a problem, you know, go on, it'll be good. And I really don't like turning down challenges, which is why I said, okay, then I will go ahead and do it.
Don't tell me how you did in it, but I care. How did you find the process of it? So how did you find being in the kitchen?
The one thing that they did was to come and talk to me while I was whipping egg whites. That didn't go well. So we'll just leave that there. I can easily ignore cameras, so it was just if you were trying to walk past you know, a crew member and you had something in your hand, that was the only thing really. The crew were lovely, the people that I met were absolutely fantastic, and the group that I was cooking with were very supportive of each other, so all of that amazing. But I have to say that when we were given the secret ingredient and we have to make a meal, that was nerve-wracking. I'm somebody that likes to go by a recipe. I find that very hard, and it was very much out of my comfort zone. So, but as I said, the support and everything was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. And we can see that on BBC One very, very soon. We don't know when quite yet. Let's talk about your work with Causeway. So it's an you're being seen as this LGBTQ plus ally now. Where did that come from, of being seen as an ally?
I was told I was a gay icon, and I had to check what that meant.
Yeah. What does that mean? Because I have no idea what that actually means.
Well, apparently it's somebody, I think it's a woman, but not necessarily. I'm actually not sure whether it can be a man too. Opinionated, feisty, can hold my own. Also, might be linked in with a hun, because I had to ask what a hun meant. Apparently a hun has a catchphrase, but Ross's is mine. a particular hairstyle, apparently an orange. Although I was told it was shades of copper and did pay a lot of money for copper, orange bobs. So I've got my own hairstyle. All of these things makes me a icon. But it's basically, I think the bottom line is opinionated and stand up for what you believe. And therefore, that obviously makes me an ally. Well, no, personally, I would be anyway, because who cares what anybody is as long as you're not hurting anybody. But that makes me somebody that sort of, I suppose, shows people how not to be worried, to be confident, to stand up for themselves and be comfortable with who they are. So suppose all of that works together as an ally and being an icon, I think.
And so when
Yeah.
Causeway came to you and said, look, this is what we're doing around slavery, we want you to get involved, what did you notice about their work? What's their work said and what are you doing for them?
Well, first of all, it was Pride. So the Pride theme in Liverpool this year is Be Heard. So Causeway have been working for over 10 years now, and they work with at least 2,000 individuals per year with safe houses, training programs, raising awareness, raising money. And it's about human slavery. And the LGBT community are more at risk because they're vulnerable. And sadly, anybody in our society who's vulnerable, there are those that will take advantage. That is human nature. So as a teacher of confidence building, which is my thing, you know, my kids back in Ireland, some of them would get roped into paramilitary activities. One, they didn't necessarily have all the knowledge that they needed, but equally they didn't have the confidence to say no. So it is an absolute thing of mine. Nobody should be in any relationship where they are subject to somebody else's demands. So for me, absolutely. Now I know that that is more subjective, I suppose. You know, that's for everybody. Pride is obviously very much supporting the LGBT community. Causeway are supporting abolishing slavery. But I think it starts at home. I think that nobody, as I said, and I will keep saying to the LGBT community, don't let anybody clip your wings. And most certainly don't let anybody else be telling you what to do. So slavery is obviously not worse than that, because I think they're all pretty abhorrent. They are using vulnerable people to either, I don't know, get them to work for nothing or get them to work for low wages. They even have been known to harvest organs, which is possibly taking them against their will. You know, they can use people. So there's a good about 64 countries, I think, in the world, for example, that homosexuality is criminalized. So they'll be doing everything they can either to get out of the country or to be made to feel okay. And it is just appalling and shocking. And I mean, to be fair, I didn't even know some of the statistics before I got involved with Causeway. So anything I can do to be there with Causeway, marching on their behalf, saying, right, come on, come to Causeway, you know, this is what Causeway can do. Go to social medias, their social media channels, go to their website. Let's see what they can do for you. But equally, I'm still there saying, be confident, say no as best you can, you know. And I know that's not always easy, by the way. I know it's not, but be confident.
Well, exactly. Well, let's keep that confidence coming for you, Dan, and let's keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. You've been watching or listening to Secure and Insecure with me, Johnny Seifert. Like we had, please give a 5-star rating, click that subscribe button, and let's keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. Starting on my social medias, at Johnny Seifert 92 on TikTok, at Johnny Seifert, at Secure and Insecure podcast on Instagram, and www.wearecauseway.org.uk is where you can go for more information about what Diane has just spoken about. And if you love the Traitors like I do, there are episodes on Secure and Insecure with Andrew Jenkins, Kieran Thompson, Molly Pierce, Amanda Lovett, Theo Main, and now Diane as well. I'm delighted to have had Diane on Secure and Insecure today. And like I say, wearecauseway.org.uk is where you can go for more information about today's episode. I've been Johnny Seifert. Thanks so much for watching or listening. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.